Happy Friday, first grade, and I really hope that you guys had a wonderful week. Now, when you look at this picture, stop and think and journal about what you see and what we learned this past week. That's right. We learned about the phases of the moon. Now, this next week, we're gearing up to learn even more about them. Now, this is exactly what we are going to be learning. We are going to use our observations of the sun, moon, and stars to describe patterns that can be predicted. You guys will be able to identify the phases of the moon by their text and by their image. So in short, you will be able to say, I can name the phases of the moon. Here is some information that we learned in the past couple of weeks. The sun and moon, they show at different times. The sun rises in the east, but it falls in the west. Stars are only seen at night because the sun does not outshine them then. And there are different constellations in the sky made up by stars. Now, since we talked about stars, what else are we going to talk about? When looking at the phases of the moon, we can count there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The first phase is called the new moon. If you look at the back and the front, they would be the exact same. This is how we know a cycle is beginning or ending. The second phase in a moon cycle is called the crescent. Now, if we look at the front half and the back half, we notice that they are exactly the same. If we look in our textbook, we notice that the first crescent is called the waxing crescent. The second crescent would be called the waning crescent. The phase that comes after the waxing crescent is called the first quarter. This is because it happens in the first fourth of the phases. Next, we notice we have another pair in our phases, the waxing gibbous and the waning gibbous. The first one that always comes is the waxing. You can think that you waxed your car and you made it all shiny, but then it started waning and it made you very sad. In the middle of our cycle is called the full moon. It's called the full moon because it's where it's at its brightest and in its fullest. That's when we see a full circle up in the sky. Since the waxing gibbous came first, next comes the waning gibbous. The final phases before the new moon are called the last quarter because it happens in the last fourth of our phases, and then finally our waning crescent. That happens right before our new moon. All of this information is very important, and I hope that you wrote it down in your science notebook. It will be very helpful for when you fill out your moon phases worksheet. And it is super duper important that you share all of the information that we learned in class in science with your parents this weekend. Have them sign the parent signature in your agenda, and I hope to see you on Monday with a great attitude.